Good morning. We're going to do a video today on real estate best practices. This is for anyone who's either buying or selling a property, and I'm going to run through a lot of the issues that cause me concern. First off, what gives me the right to question or discuss this? I've spent 25 years in real estate. After spending 18 years in the financial services industry, I dealt with the State Division of Securities, the NASD. We followed the SEC rules. We had internal compliance officers. I was a branch manager overseeing the activities of a sales force in the financial services industries, stockbrokers, bond brokers, insurance agents. And let me tell you, the real estate, when I got into real estate, I could not believe how crazy real estate is. It's the wild, wild west. And the only mechanism for monitoring behavior is complaints. There does not seem to be a best practices guide or even a mentality. See, they don't teach you how to be a realtor. They teach you how to pass the test. We learn how to be a realtor by going out there and realtoring. And you get your best wisdom from your mistakes. For example, there are three drop dead dates on a contract. And most realtors learn this by violating it one time and never forgetting. But there's hundreds or even thousands of variables that influence a transaction. And the way that new realtors learn how to deal with these is by experience. So what's going on? It just seems that the minimum is acceptable. There's no accountability. There's no incentive for initiative. There's a mindset that seems to be that we're more concerned about getting sued than about being wrong, or about being right is really the way it is. I'll give you an example. I'm doing a listing this morning on Forest Hills, and out of 39 listings, there's only one of them that had pet restrictions. And I congratulate that realtor. But the fact is there are no pet restrictions in that neighborhood. And I'm going to talk about the necessity for being right on the little boxes on the MLS data listing. What we see is that a lot of listings will say agent to verify or buyer to verify. You want to get the right home for your buyer. And if you're a seller, you want to find the right buyer. Now, the challenge we have is that a lot of listings say buyer to verify. I'm protecting the seller. The buyer may have a criteria, and if we get it wrong on the listing, the buyer may sue us. What this does, buyer to verify, it forces the buyer to take responsibility for making sure they're getting what they want. The problem is that that's not what is happening. People are putting buyer to verify on it because they're lazy, and buyers don't see the listings that meet their criteria, so they don't even know to go verify. Let's go into it with an example. Plantation Palms is a great golf course neighborhood. Really nice homes. I don't know, $450,000 to $800,000. Now, the Homeowners Association Management Company is there, and they're helpful when you can get them on the phone. But I read the documents in their homeowners association documents, and it didn't seem to address pet restrictions. Now, generally, when it doesn't have them, it means there aren't any, but you just don't want to be wrong. And at that time, of the 65 listings in the neighborhood, not one of them had 100-pound dog. It took me 5 days to confirm the pet restrictions. There are no pet restrictions. So if you come to town, you want to be in a nice gated golf course community with deed restrictions that allows you to have pets, you would not have found this neighborhood. And if you had found the neighborhood, would you have spent 5 days trying to verify the pet restrictions when the listing agent could easily go on to the, spent the 5 days for you finding out and then putting it on the listings? So new agents come in and they say, I teach new agents and I tell them, look, they know you're brand new. Don't tell them that you're the broker. You're not. You're an agent for the broker. The broker is the one that's ultimately responsible for the transaction, not the new agent. Well, I can hire a new agent because they have a really good broker. The question is, how involved is that broker in the transaction? Well, history suggests that brokers are very busy, and if they're producing brokers, they may not have time to manage the new agents effectively and only deal with the new agents when there's a problem. That is an after the fact management style as opposed to dealing with the issues that happened before. So let's talk about a listing, because we're going to have to talk about this in two ways. We have to talk about it from the seller side, and we have to talk about it from the buyer side. If you're going to list your house, you want to get the most amount of people to look at your listing in the least amount of time. And what you really want to do is keep buyers away that might put that under contract and then walk away during the inspection period. What I say is get the deal breakers out in front immediately. If they want animals and they're not allowed, you don't want these people buying this product, this house, and putting it under contract only to find out that because the realtor and the seller put buyer to verify, that they didn't do the verification until after they put it under contract. So if you're a seller and someone puts your product, your house under contract, and they don't buy it, you just spent all that time taking your house off the market. So what do you ask if you're looking to work with an agent to help you sell your home? How many homes have you sold? What are the bad words on listings? What are the 9 things you should do if your home does not sell? What are the lease restrictions for a home that does not have deed restrictions? How do you determine flood zones or school zones? How do you determine flood zones? When you don't know the answer on one of the variables on the MLS data sheet, do you leave them blank or do you put buyer to verify? And that's a trick question, because the answer is not either one of those. The answer is I'll find out what it is and I'll enter it onto the MLS data entry worksheet. Who inputs your listings? You know, I spent years with an assistant that inputted my listings, and I didn't learn until I started putting in the listings myself to realize all of the ramifications of all of the 1,000 or so buttons that are on the MLS data entry listing worksheet. Here's a great question. What's the number of the legal hotline? Show me that you've got it pre-programmed in your phone. Do you verify lease restrictions, pet restrictions, deed restrictions? Do you have buyer to verify on any of your listings? What are the 5 major marketing tools and what is the timing? Do you use paid advertising? If you're interviewing a realtor and you say, if a home has no deed restrictions, how many pets are allowed? And the answer in Pasco County is 9. How often can you rent your home out if there are no deed restrictions? What is the minimum lease time that you can rent your home out? How many times a year can you lease at the minimum? Nope. Yeah, the minimum time. And the next question should be, how many times a year can you lease your home out at the maximum? What is the county ordinance that determines these minimums? Are VRBOs and Airbnbs legal? What are the issues? Well, briefly, the issues are you got to collect tourist tax, you got to collect sales tax, you have to file a sales tax report every month, even if you didn't collect sales tax. And then as far as VRBOs, at least in Pasco County, you're only allowed to rent your home out 3 times a year for less than 30 days without being subject to a $500 a day fine. Who cares about all these buttons? A buyer with dogs, a buyer that wants to be a landlord, a buyer that wants no deed restriction, a buyer that wants no HOA fees, someone who's concerned about flood zones, somebody who's concerned about mandatory evacuation zones, sinkholes. A seller does not want to go under contract with a buyer to take 2 weeks to find out that there's a deal breaker. So let's look at Forest Hills. Forest Hills is the reason I did this video. I got so riled. There are 39 listings in Forest Hills that include the actives, pendings, and 30-day solds. Only 1 listing showed that you can have a dog. Why does that matter? If you come to Pasco County or any county and you have an animal, in using Pasco County as an example, because I am Mr. Pasco, there are 4,600 listings in Pasco County, a little more. 728 of them show that you can have a dog. And I'm not talking about size. That's a whole nother subject, because if you have a big dog, if you have a little dog, there are 728 properties that you can have a dog. But if you click little dog, there's only 128 of those, whereas you really have 728 properties to choose from. But is that all there are? No, because if there's no deed restrictions, then you're allowed to have dogs, 100-pound dogs. There's actually 2,600 properties in Pasco County today that have no deed restrictions. And of them, only 243 say that you can have a 100-pound dog, when the reality is there's 2,600 of them. School zones. Who cares, right? The parent that cares. They want a particular school zone. Two things can happen. They can get it right and are happy, or they can get it wrong and put a house under contract that they will not buy, inconveniencing themselves and the seller that takes that home off the market. The buyer may pay for inspections and appraisals. They may have to extend their current lease. The seller may have to, the buyer may have to extend their current lease, or they may have to move into a hotel. Whose fault is this anyway? Features versus benefits. Features and amenities are what you're buying. I want a 3-2 block home, fenced-in backyard, no deed restrictions, split plan, vaulted ceilings. New roof. What happened, we got this AI, artificial intelligence, and now we're seeing public remarks going crazy. In my opinion, long public remarks which have benefits are wrong. Long is bad. I'm sure you've heard of the swipe right mentality, like on dating sites, swipe right. Well, that same swipe right, that's where you've got a house, you're looking at it and you push your finger to the right, then you're looking at the next house, or you're clicking your mouse. Now you're looking at the next house. You're looking at the next house. With that swipe right mentality, you'd better get to the features quickly, or the buyer is looking at the next house before they even realize that the house they were looking at meets their criteria. So why are benefits bad? Really, Randy? Why are benefits bad? All right, new roof. New roof is pretty succinct, but I saw a recent listing. It says, new roof, giving you the confidence for many years that your home will be dry and your insurance rates will be low. Large kitchen, a place where your family and your friends will have many years of joy and peace as you spend quality time with your loved ones, eating and talking. Large backyard, a place for the family and pets to spend long hours enjoying the lifestyle in your new home with joy. Please. New roof says it all. Big kitchen says it all. Large backyard. That's what the listing should say. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2-car garage, block home, new roof, big kitchen, large backyard. That's your only chance for them not to swipe right and move on from your listing. When your listing says, blah, 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 family and years of joy, they are gone. So how things are done. A realtor gets a listing in a neighborhood. Well, they don't know the neighborhood, or maybe they do, but immediately they pull up all the other listings in the neighborhood, and they get the data on the neighborhood from other listings. That data is only as good as the agents that put in those listings. You end up with a trail of information that's only as good as the agent who started the trail. In fact, what I do is I look at the realtor, the listing agent, and I know I've got 25 years in this area. I've got 700 listings. I've got 700 realtors in my phone. When I see it's a brand new agent, I'm not as likely to believe the data is correct. But there are certain agents that are phenomenal. And when I see them and I say, well, I know this realtor, and this realtor is like me, and this information can be relied upon. And there's other realtors that they're in my phone that I've called for years and never spoken to. And they have assistants doing all their work, and their information is not, you cannot rely on it. So what do you do if you're a seller? If you got your house on the market, go ahead and act like you're a buyer and start searching and see if your listing comes up under the criteria that you know your house has. For example, you know you're in a deed restricted community. You know you're on the water. You know you can have dogs. You know what you know. And if you search for what you know to be true, does your home come up as one of the options? If it doesn't, you got a problem, because the buyer that's looking for what you have is not seeing your listings. All right, so if you're in a home that has no deed restriction, does your home come up under the criteria of a 100-pound dog? Does your home come up under no lease restrictions? Does your home, if you're a buyer, it's harder to know, because buyers don't know that no deed restrictions means 100-pound dogs. You find a home that you like, but under the criteria that is important to you, it says buyer to verify. What do? Well, you can look at the other homes in the neighborhood to see if the listings on those homes did fill out the information that's important to you. Or you can call the HOA or the county to verify. But if the listing agent had put that information in originally, you wouldn't be, your property, or that property would have come up under your criteria, and you wouldn't have a challenge of verifying. So you don't know what you don't know. You better have someone that can guide you. You need to know how to interview the person you hire for assistance. I hope this helps. This is all my contact information. Lastly, I'm going to go, how do you mitigate the risk? I've got 25 years of real estate. I've done over 660 transactions personally, where I was the buyer, the seller, or a partner in equitable deals. And how do you lower the risk without putting yourself in a situation where your data is wrong? Well, I'll tell you. Feel free to reach out to me. My name is Randy Jenkins. My phone number is 727-409-HOME. It's easy to remember. It's 409 Spray Cleaner, 409 HOME. And I have a bunch of online presence. I hadn't been using 409home.com, but I've had it for years and years and years, and it seems like it's getting a little traction. So if you want to read and learn some of the stuff that I've been promoting, you can go to 409home.com, or go to my YouTube page, or go to my website. Anyway, Randy Jenkins, appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of the best practices, and I'll work on this video. It'll get better. Have a great day. Bye now. Oh, wait, I should wave. Bye.